What's going on, everybody? Gentleman94 here. Welcome back to What Should Ben Build Next? This is the first candidate here in this kind of voting process. This is the P-38F Lightning. This is a 1/48 scale kit put out by the company called Academy. So let's go ahead and open it up and see what we have. Now, I have opened this up before and poked around in here, so that's why these aren't in plastic bags, but I haven't built anything on the kit. I have altered one particular part, but mostly this kit is intact as it would be right out of the box. One thing I don't necessarily like about this kit, and I might have to replace, are the wheels. Now, here in the Academy kit, they give you rubber wheels. These are actually rubber. They don't have any tread pattern or anything like that on them, so I don't know if they're necessarily correct. But these are rubber wheels. And one of the issues I have with that is I've heard that rubber wheels will sometimes melt plastic when they're attached and they kind of sit there for a while. I know an AMT Ertl model back in the late 90s had that happen. I don't think these will do that, but I've always had a worry and a fear about using rubber wheels. Now, the rest of the kit, though, is pretty standard. This is the early P-38F, so the F was the first one actually having the ability to carry drop tanks. So we've got our drop tanks, we've got our ailerons, we've got the upper and lower wing and center pilot section. Now these are recessed panel lines. They're not the raised panel lines like you would have on the Revell or early monogram kits. Most of these parts look pretty well detailed. The wheel wells here are a little Spartan. They don't have a lot of stuff on them. So we might want to add a bit of piping, hydraulic cables, something to that effect. Also the rear decking here behind the pilot, the radio equipment, that probably needs to have a little bit more bling attached to it. Maybe put some cables or some sort of something in there. We have our right and left engine booms. This is called a twin boom aircraft, I might add. And lastly, we have, looks like cockpit floor. We got some armament, some of these rockets here, which I don't think I'm going to be building or putting on the aircraft. Landing gears, hubs, the usual. So nothing too crazy here. Overall, very nice looking plastic, very glossy, very shiny plastic. This is a modular kit, though, like a lot of kits are these days. As you can see here, this is the front of each of the engine. The cells will have these early oil coolers. So there's these two openings. And I've actually drilled out the openings. This is one of the things that I did here. Just because I was trying to toy with the idea of kind of sprucing the model up a bit. So I had an idea to put some mesh behind these, drill these things out, put some mesh in the background, so that it would actually give the illusion of having some sort of engine behind there. Now, I'm not going to put an engine in there because there's no reason to, but at least this way it would have a little bit more personality, a little bit of wow factor. Clear parts here are pretty standard, nothing too fancy here. You have the center section, the rear section, top section, and then the front section as well. So I don't know if I'll lay these in the open or closed position. I'm not yet entirely sure. Here are the decals here. We have two sets of decals, one for the U.S. Army early war stuff. We have the stencils here. We also have the decals and markings for Glacier Girl herself. So that's kind of neat. But let's go ahead and take a look at the instructions here. At the bottom here we'll have two images here of the lost squadron of Glacier Girl as she was being excavated from the snow, and then of course one of the upside down aircraft that crash landed there on the snow in Greenland. The P-38F instruction manual is fairly straightforward. You have your center loose section with the markings for Glacier Girl and the markings for a different P-38F. This is actually one that I would really want to do. Not so much Glacier Girl, but more of this one here. Because this one I can have exhaust staining, I can have oil staining. Glacier Girl wouldn't see that, because like I said, she's a museum piece. This is the one I really want to build. This one is voted on, this one wins. I'm going to say that the second version is what I'm going to be building. So let's go ahead and open it up and see this. This is expanded, folded piece here. Pretty standard. Start off with the cockpit assembly moving through the wings and the landing gear bays and all of those. You have our paints here at the bottom. That's kind of nice to have color-coded reference there. Stencils in the back kind of shows you where to put different markings. Check your references though, because this may not have been on every single P-38. You never know. Overall though, the kit looks really nice. I do like the way that Academy has done the plastic here. It's a little thick in certain areas, but it's nice and shiny with recessed panel lines and very finely engraved recessed panel lines. So, looks pretty good. I picked up this book here. This is the P-38 Lightning, Detail and Scale. It's got a lot of awesome pictures of early P-38s. So this is part 1. So this will cover all of the early versions of the P-38s. So it goes from the prototype up to the early reconnaissance. It doesn't have any of the later ones though, so it's just the early stuff. Also, one of the nice things you do get here is you get a nice smattering of detailed images and pictures, most in color actually, of Glacier Girl as she was being restored. You also have real wartime pictures from stills and things, and drawings. And it's a really great book to go ahead and flip through to pull out information. You can get some great detail shots of the engines, the gun bay. You can get a lot of cool stuff from, just the restoration alone. Someone went through here and took detailed shots of all of the wheel wells and all the piping and hydraulic cables and all sorts of crazy things that are going on in these wheel wells. So we could use this as a perfect guide to go ahead and spruce up those wheel wells. That would be a lot of fun to do. Now, am I going to do it? I don't know, but it'd be fun to try at least. And I think if I remember correctly, Glacier Girl is actually 80% authentic. That's a pretty good number, considering that she was buried in ice since the early 40s. In the back here, like all detail and scale books, it has a nice modeling kit breakdown where it kind of goes over different kits available at the time of writing anyway. So all in all, this is a great reference. I've also have internet pictures as well of Glacier Girl, and that's kind of cool. It'd be fun to go ahead and get in on this one. This is just one candidate here. We've got 3 other candidates to go. I really appreciate you guys watching this one. If you could, watch the other 3. Check them out. Let me know which one you'd like me to build. So, join me back here for candidate number 2, the F6F Hellcat.